All right, welcome back, baseball fans, to another elimination video. Today we're eliminating the Philadelphia Phillies, who had a stunning collapse to their year. A year that started great up until the All-Star break. And then they dropped successive series to the Braves, the Reds, and then ultimately the Mets in a rather embarrassing way at the end there, getting drubbed when the Mets scored up 20-some runs. And they end up finishing 22-18, 5 games better than a year ago. Their season ends at the same place it ended a year ago, qualifying for the playoffs and missing out. So that happened last year, it happens again. The batting average you can't complain about, 293. But the ERA ballooned. Most, you got to remember, with only 40 games, that 21 burger against the Mets is going to hurt the team ERA. Looking at net runs, they score 201 and they give up 187. So they're still on the positive side of that. It's just, once they went up against equal competition on the genre playoff teams, they just couldn't match a winning level. And they had too many shortcomings. It seemed to be the pitching that was the bugaboo. Let's start with the hitting, though, because they sent 3 hitters to the All-Star game. Lazinski went, a .327 year, 8 homers, led the club, 30 RBI as well. They also had Mike Schmidt go. The average dipped at the end there to .248, but he still had 8 homers, 26 RBIs. And Bull went to the game, the All-Star game, as a 1 shortstop, who had .285, which was even higher than his card indicated. Jay Johnstone has a great card, but again, he's just a one-way player. So if he was an everyday player versus left-handed pitching, it'd be much better. Maddox underachieved to just .277 with a .330 card. Aside from that, you can't really complain much about that offense, Everybody sort of did what they do, or better, most of the time. But the pitching was a little different story. Let's start with Carlton. Now, we weren't going to project Carlton in the Cy Young race, even though this is sort of like the dead period from 73 to 76. No particular year stands out. He's still great, but he's just not lights out like he was in 72 with the 27 wins, or 1980 with 24 wins, and 81 as well. Were playoff appearances plus a 83 World Series appearance as well. So that's what Carlton has in his future. A .377 ERA and a .131 WHIP is, well, with a higher level of competition, that's where you're at. You'd like to have maybe a better win-loss record and more complete games, but it's not there either. Twitchell was nice, 7-4. Dobson lost that last start, got pulled. His card hasn't translated in 2 years with it. And unfortunately, we have to talk about, right now, the elephant in the room, the failure at the end of Tug McGraw. I guess it wasn't really a failure. His team had no shot, but he still got lit up for 7 runs in his final inning of work this year, giving him a season ERA of 7 with a .172 WHIP with 5 saves and a losing record. An ugly finish, and showing clearly that the Mets made the right move in trading Tug to the Phillies this offseason. He had lost his effectiveness for the Mets. It'll be fine, though, in the future. McGraw will have some good times in the future for the Phillies. But for right now, the Mets will win that trade. Mets go to the playoffs, Phillies do not. With that, let's take a look now at the Phillies. Interesting to see what they have coming and going from 73. There's 8 guys here. So we see a couple of people we know linked to this team, maybe 3. Not a lot. So they're not really overly, they don't have a lot of keepers here. They got to balance, the correct balance you'd like to see. So they're not really searching for hitters or pitchers. Let's see how they build back. Well, apparently both catchers are gone. They have Taylor. You can use him as a DH versus lefties or first base anywhere against lefties, right? You have Doyle at second, Schmidt, and Boa. So you got a nice starting infield there. You got Johnston, Maddox, and Lazinski. So you got 3 outfielders there. So you're not really worried about this offense at all. You know, you just secure your catching situation and you move on. As far as pitching goes, you bring back 3 starters, right? And you like to have the next starter you bring in elevate into the 2 spot if you can keep Dobson and Christensen as the 3-4. Twitchell was the 2 spot. He was very good. I don't think Twitchell has another year quite as good. That could be of concern if they don't improve their starting pitching. And you just kind of cross your fingers that Garber and McGraw, guys who are going to be here in Philadelphia for quite some time, you know, they got to live up to expectation and pitch well. I mean, this is a good McGraw card. There's no reason for him to get knocked around. He actually improved from his last years with the Mets. He was getting up to a 3.50 ERA with the Mets, and now he's rebounds, you could say, in 74 with a really nice year like this. So you have to expect that, you know, those hardships of the Phillies, they have to have a short memory and just forget this collapse. It's kind of, call it the Gene Mauch effect, that famous collapse. There's certainly reason for optimism as they will shed the 73 season, which ultimately wasn't that productive anyway, and they're going to get closer next year, obviously, to the 77 season and a playoff appearance. So next year, the Phillies should be shooting for winning the East and going to the playoffs. To do that, let's take a look at the 73 players and see who they decide they want to keep, waive, and retire. All right, the first player will be Bob Boone. You know, Boone will be with the Phillies for some time here. And really, we want to get that great throwing arm if we can. We don't have that information in front of us here. But, yeah, he'll play with the Phillies through 81. We know he's a keeper. And there's some great batting averages from 77 onward. So we can get a 77 average and a 780 OPS that we like. Prior to that, he's okay as well. So, yeah, you could jump to 77. That's a 4-year contract. 11 home runs will probably have power. At 343 on base, 430, yeah, that, you know, all that is good. Of course, in 76, he's an all-star. Gosh, he's got MVP votes and a Gold Glove in 78. If you wait 1 year to get that card, it's all good. I mean, it's no. So Bob Boone will be catch. We said this should be good for the Phillies moving forward as we start to get into their playoff year. So even though they failed, that is the silver lining. They have a good future coming up. Maybe they just weren't ready for the bright lights. All right, next up is John Jeter. He might be done. He was just a free agent brought in to play some defense in the outfield. Did okay, Johnny Jeter. He was brought in with his 73 stats. There they are. And again, he doesn't have a year in 74. So we can retire John Jeter and move on. John Jeter on the retired list right here. All right, next up is Tim McCarver. I think he leaves for the Expos and comes back, I want to guess here. How does this work with him? So he's a Philly. He goes from the Cardinals to the Phillies. Okay. He's with the Expos, then the Cardinals, Boston, and then finishes in Philadelphia, 75 and beyond. So here is the first option to not bring him back, if you wanted to do that. He was productive with a 73 card as a lefty catcher. You love that. His 74 combined numbers aren't very good. His 75 numbers are actually pretty good, but I don't think he'd make his card. The big get, though, is the 77 Philadelphia numbers. There they are. 320. My goodness, folks. This team could have the 330 Maddox, the 329 Jay Johnstone, the 320 McCarver. Split in time with Bob Boone at catcher. Probably could play a little bit of first base if you need him to. Be a designated hitter if you need him to. Again, there was no DH back in this time period. Well, there would be now. So that is a huge win for the Phillies. We want to make a note here that, oh yeah, 77 is something to really excite this team about. Gaming the system. Normally when you see these
statistical anomalies, they're usually expansion extra player cards that are left to the expansion teams just to help build a nucleus. But here you're talking about a playoff team getting a superstar performance out of who would have been just a utility catcher. So that's great news for the Phillies to exploit that benefit. All right, next up is Gary Thomason. Probably a traveling player, a guy who will move from team to team looking for a home. As a left-handed bat with power, but offense, defense, speed, and all that, it just never really clicks to give you the whole package. So we had the 73 card where he hits 285, 758. He'll come close in 78 with the Yankees. Part of splitting time with two teams. He's got an 809 OPS in 77 with the Giants. These are nice numbers, but here's the problem. It's not a problem. It's just that there's a lot of competition at corner, outfield, first base, DH anyway, and you got to be on the top of your game. I don't know if Thomason is at the top. Sure, if there's a vacancy somewhere in the sport for a platoon option, he'll find work. In the short term, he's only 22 years old and 74, so you've got all this San Francisco tenure untapped. Do the Giants even want him? They're usually a deep team. His top WAR year is 77, notice. He's got 17 home runs in that year. He's got an 809 OPS. He can even get waivers in 74 with 315 at-bats. I mean, it sounds like I'm being pessimistic here. I'm not. It's just that I recognize the competition level. He's a decent ball player. He should definitely be in our league somewhere. What about this outfield? You got Johnstone. You got Maddox. You got Lazinski. You got McCarver as a left-handed bat. At DH, catcher, potentially first base. You got Bob Boone. Do you need Thomason? He would be playing first base again. Can he even play first base anymore? That's another thing that you need to think about. With their outfield full. I guess he can. Probably not very well. Probably better suited to be an outfielder. What we typically do in these situations is just say, let's keep him for now. And then, if we find better options, we'll just move him into waivers or trade him. So that's what they'll do with Thomason. Next up, Walt Williams. He might be coming near the end. He was more of a spark plug, leadoff, top of the lineup guy. Actually played for the, I think Atlanta and a few other teams, the White Sox. Actually played not for Atlanta. I played for the White Sox, Cleveland, the Yankees here. We use this Cleveland card. It's 289. 74, he's not going to get waivers, and it's a bad year. 75, he comes back. So here's an interesting situation for a player. You have to like this player if you want to keep him, because you can't put him on waivers without a card in 74. Which means you have to lock him into 75. Again, I don't see this happening. So Williams will have an interesting opportunity to come out of retirement with this 75 card for whoever. So, yeah, would they have liked to put him on waivers? Yes. Can they? No. The rule is you have to have a card in the next year, which is 74. He doesn't have it. So he has to go on the retirement list because you don't want to keep him when you've got other mouths you want to keep. But it means that once the league collectively looks at all the players on the retirement list who have Strat-O-Matic cards printed, Williams' card will stand out amongst his contemporaries there. They'll go, oh my goodness, why did Walt Williams be put on the retirement list? It's 281. So that card will flash, and he might get picked up in undrafted free agency much later next year, and next March of next year when the draft begins. So let's go to the pitching now. Wayne Twitchell, this is a key roster move. So he had a really nice 73. How many twitches are there? There you go. Really nice 73 for Twitchell. All-star, 250 ERA. And then weird things start to happen. He's got this really fascinating year in the bullpen in 76 in just 61 innings. Would love to have a card like that. I don't think it exists. Of the 4 years, it's the highest WAR. 70-70 he splits time with 2 different clubs. He's just kind of okay. He's not special. He could be let go. He could be one of the guys that's left unprotected by the Phillies that an expansion team picks up. Unless this 76 version of Twitchell exists. That would be cool. Let's check it out. So we have to go back to... we have to actually look... This is the 74 roster page. We'd have to actually look at the 76 roster page and see if they make a Twitchell card. And he's still with Philadelphia in 76, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's still with the Phillies in 76. So if this card exists, that will be interesting. Let's go see if we have, while we wait for this page to load. Here we go. All right, here's the 76 roster page we're skipping to now. Now you see this 77. This means the year you buy the cards. And they're actually going to have Seattle and Toronto players at the very end of this list. You see what they did? This is pretty clever. They put together expansion kits for fans of the new Seattle and Toronto franchises, and they can actually build rosters with them. And it shows that where cards can be pulled from existing Major League teams and put on Seattle, Toronto. A lot of this is projection. It's not accurate, of course, you know. But it's cool that they did this, you know. It's really neat for Strat to make this attempt for their fans. I thought this was really cool. I like to see all this kind of, I don't want to say homemade, but the idea of like really digging deep into the information to help their fans who appreciate it. Like this little note here. The following cards have been adjusted or estimated due to insufficient Major League data. Ken Pape, Bob Baylor, Doug Ault, John Scott, Tom McMillan, Jose Baez, Larry Cox. You don't even care about these guys, folks. But the fact that they take this deep dive is really, really super cool for their avid fans. And also shows how much it's just not a cookie cutter board game. Like they really want to hardwire and try to make this as realistic as they possibly can. So it means, hey, look at everything we print. Look at everything we write here. Go in and you take a deep dive. You figure this stuff out, you know? This is what we've done. Kind of expand on it your own way. You know, I like that. Back to the look here. We're looking for Twitchell for a Philadelphia card. So we're going to start with the Phillies. He's not one of their pitchers here. Is he an extra player? He is. There he is. He's got an extra player card right there. So that changes the game a little bit. So this 61 inning card is available. That's a great news. It's a 118 whip. Got a 175 ERA. Put him in the bullpen. Keep him. Does he have a spot? Yeah, you can configure him into a spot. They're going to lose Acosta, I believe. So take Twitchell. He's no longer effective as a starter. But let's put him in the bullpen. At least for now. Let's put 76. And also bullpen so we know he's going to move out of the rotation. All right, 2 more players and we'll be done with this analysis, and it is Cy Acosta, the guy I just mentioned, who's probably going to be done. He plays through to 75. Are the stats still there? Wasn't really associated with the Philly. Actually did. Well, in 8 innings. This 74 card, I believe, does exist for the White Sox. We can check that. The 74 White Sox, here they are. He's listed as an extra player there. So you can, for the moment, be optimistic and put him on the keeper list as well, because he's got a card. Practically, he's going to go on waivers. And lastly, Steve Barber. Long time. I think he pitched in the 66 series, if I'm not mistaken. World Series for Baltimore. Almost the 1950s. There he is, Steve Barber. 73 card with California we just used. 50 innings in the bullpen. A 136 whip, but he throws left-handed. That's what they wanted him for. They're not going to print this card in 74 with the Giants with just 13 innings, so he has to go on the retirement list. What a nice long career for Steve Barber. Helps Baltimore win the 66 World Series. He's no longer with the Orioles later on in their heyday. He goes from Baltimore to the Yankees, Seattle Pilots, Cubs, Braves, Angels. No more playoff appearances. There you have it. So, he'll go on the retirement list. So with that, there you go. You have 5 keepers. Obviously, they can't keep 5. They only keep 4. Boone's a lock. McCarver's a lock with that performance. And probably Twitchell, more effective pitcher than Acosta. And I guess you can keep Thomason, though you might want an upgrade. At least right now, there are 5 keepers, 3 retirees, and nobody on waivers. This now means that 20 baseball teams have been eliminated in getting to a playoff field. When we plug in the raw number of guys, of teams eliminated, we can now look right here, and we should have 80 guys kept, 40 waived, and 40 retired. And this shows pluses and minuses. And this is very opportunistic. It shows that those 20 non-playoff teams have a plus 11 in the keeper side of the ledger. That's good news. It means desirable players. You want to keep, but you can't. So those 11 guys will practically move into waivers, of which there's a shortfall of 10. And only one of the worst waivered players will then be pushed into retirement. We've seen some bad waivered players. So at least at this vantage point, with the 20 allegedly worst teams making their report, we should have plenty of talent on the waiver wire and being kept. And the retirement list will be at a minimum going into next year's draft. At least at this point, because you figure the best teams in the league don't have bad enough players to have mass retirements coming up. At least that's the projection, at least. So that's all really good news. As long as they can keep it in the blue, it's good news for the league. You want as blue as possible, and it's easy to get a guy on waivers. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like the phones don't ring. You've got a guy, hey, I want to trade you this guy, and everybody's like, why would I trade for that guy when I can get him for free? So, anyway, thanks for watching. This is eliminating the Philadelphia Phillies video. Thanks for checking out the analysis, and we'll see you next time.